usually do this. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've ever done it. But I had a really hard day yesterday, and I woke up this morning and opened my wallet, and my ID and insurance cards were gone. And it was all thanks to the new front desk guy at my rheumatologist's office. Now, mind you, I had 4 appointments yesterday, the first of which was at the lab to get my pre-op orders done. I'm having surgery on November 20th. It will be my 10th surgery, I think, this year. I usually don't go to the lab. I have a in-home nurse, and she does all of my lab draws out of a port that I have in my chest because my veins don't work. So yesterday it took 3 draws and probably about 30 minutes because when they do get me, my veins drain extremely slow. Anyway, I'm thinking about doing a research study on the perceptions of disabled, because I run into a lot of struggles the last year, and the most common struggle is people thinking that I don't look sick. A lot of people know I have dermatomyositis. More people don't know what dermatomyositis is. I got diagnosed about 15 years too late, so I've had it since I was a child, and my prognosis is really bad. And since I've been diagnosed, I've also had several other diagnoses, a lot of complications. I have several organs that are failing on me, and I am starting to suffer a renal detachment of my right eye. So, although social media makes it look like my life is amazing, and I'm not going to say it's not, because it's great. I'm very blessed. I have a beautiful family that I'm surrounded by, a lot of amazing nieces and nephews, a lot of babies to make me smile, and I choose to focus on the positivity instead of the negativity, but I have my bad days. Regardless, when I go out, whether it be to medical appointments, whether it be to run errands, really doesn't matter what it is that I do. I have a lot of judgments passed. I've had a handicap placard since I was 24 years old. I was originally approved for Social Security at 24 for thyroid storm. I had already suffered 2 heart attacks at that time, and I actually decided at 26, when I went into remission, to go back to work. I used to work for the corporate office of KTM, and I resigned after 3 months of trying to juggle chemo and my treatments and my first, I believe, 3 surgeries. So I decided I was fighting for the wrong thing. I was fighting for a career. I was fighting for my 401k. I was fighting for a future that I might not live long enough to see, instead of fighting for my life and my present. And I decided to stop doing that and to refocus. And I resigned, and I enrolled in school just to stay productive and to kind of give myself something that I can do that I loved from bed. And I can write from bed. Unfortunately, if I lose my vision, that won't happen, but I'll figure something else out when the time comes. But long story short, yesterday was a really trying day. From the minute I got to the lab, the lady was rude to me. Mind you, this is the same lab my nurse picks up all of my draw materials for, so that she can come to my house and do my home health care. So she was rude to me, the phlebotomist there at the front desk. She was actually really rude to another lady who was obviously disabled and much older than me. And then she was even more rude to a way older lady who was, it was completely obvious she was disabled. She actually asked one lady to get on her hands and knees, who was there with a small child, and clean up water that somebody else spilled previous to her. And that's kind of when I lost it. I definitely stand up for myself. I'm a very, very determined individual, so I actually asked to speak to a supervisor, and she gave me more attitude. And that's when I, let her know she was breaking a bunch of rules, including basically throwing out every ADA policy and procedure that they're supposed to abide by working in the medical industry. And I asked for her supervisor's information, who of course was not there and was not readily available. And when I attempted to contact her, her voicemail box was full. So I attempted to contact LabCorp Corporate, which I've actually done a few times for the same location for similar issues. And unfortunately, they're just a really bad location. I'm not saying all LabCorps are the same, but this one in particular in East County by Lakeside is just really horrible. They really, really need to work on their patient care and things of that nature. So aside from that, it took 2 phlebotomists to draw me. They did not handle proper bloodborne pathogen protocol either. At one point, I think on the second draw, she realized she didn't have any cotton and actually left me bleeding, walked into a different room, and came back to finish her job. She couldn't finish it because she couldn't get me after 2 pokes, so she had to call in a different phlebotomist, and that phlebotomist was having trouble, so they had to work as a team. One holding the needle, the other one holding the vials. I left from there. I went to my second appointment, which was my pre-op, my third appointment, which was my EKG, my fourth appointment, which was my rheumatology. And that's where the new front desk receptionist forgot to give me back my insurance cards and ID. And mind you, I live about 45 minutes without traffic away from that office. So I'm attempting to get those back because I have on average 4 to 9 appointments a week. Aside from treatment 2 times a week. And I am going to be having surgery. And I just picked up 3 new specialists. And anyway, long story short, I'd really like to know what some of my friends and family members think about me writing an article or a story on the disabled in America, the perception of disabled in America mostly. I think people tend to perceive disabled as looking a certain way and doing certain things. People are different, myself included. I have a wheelchair in my trunk 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I use my wheelchair quite often. I actually have posts on my social media. I learned not to be shy about it. Mostly for things that require long walks. And I try to tend to avoid those things because it's really hard to get the stairs. And the hard thing about my disease, I think probably the hardest thing is hearing that I don't look sick. Because when you can barely get out of bed, and when you get tired brushing your own teeth, it's hard to hear that you don't look sick. I look at myself in the mirror every day, and I know exactly how different I look from a year ago. I know exactly the things that I can't do anymore, and the change is drastic. And it's sad because I know I'm not the only one that goes through this. As a matter of fact, one of the girls in my group passed away on Friday, and she was 12 years younger than me, and she suffered from myositis, which is, I have dermatomyositis. There's different forms. There's polymytosis, there's dermatomyositis, there's inclusive myositis. There's a few different kinds that are classified under this form of myopathies. So she passed away. She was having complications, and unfortunately she didn't wake up after she went to bed Friday night. So I don't think people realize what this really is unless they're close to it, and it is rare. So it's not like you've met too many people that have this, and that makes it hard. So I'd really like to know what some of my friends and family members' idea is of people who are disabled. Like, what do you think when you hear the word disabled? What do you envision in your mind? Do you always see that person who can't walk, who's in a wheelchair? Do you always see somebody, 55 or older, 65 or older, somebody with gray hair? What is it that you see? Because aside from all the issues that I suffer from, just from not looking the part, I'm constantly fighting with people in a time where I'm also fighting for my life, and I shouldn't be fighting with people. I'm fighting with, my attorney to get Social Security. I've been fighting with him for a year. I've been fighting with Social Security themselves for somebody who is seeing a team of 19 doctors, who has a port, who has had, countless surgeries in less than 1 year. I'm like a game of operation, and I'm still trying to prove that I'm sick enough not to work. And the funny thing is, I miss work. I love to work. I love making money. I love being productive. I love achieving goals. And not having to rely on people. So I'd really like to know why it is that there's such a stigmata out there about it, and if there's anything I could do to change that stigmata, or maybe help open people's eyes to it, I would really, really like to do that. So if you guys can take the time to comment, please do. If you have family members that are sick and you experience something with them that you want to share, I'd love to hear it. Sorry, guys. But I just kind of felt like I needed to vent. And I really think that this is a subject that needs to be discussed and recognized. So if you want to help me do that, I would love the help. I hope everybody has a good day.